Are you truly living life or merely surviving? Whether you want more time, more love, more money, or whether you want it all, we want to help you get there. The best part? Everything you want lies on the other side of fear and self-doubt. It's time to take the leap with your host, Tiffany Toombs.
All right, so welcome back for this week's episode of Take the Leap. And this week I'm joined by my good friend, Marshall Lowy with Lowy Consulting. Marshall, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Tiffany, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Awesome. So I'll just give you a minute to introduce yourself. You're better at introducing you than I am. So tell everyone what you do and how you got started in taking the leap into what you're doing now.
Yeah, so my company is called Lowy Consulting, and so I consult on two things: business lending and payment processing. So I've been in the payment processing world for about 4 years, helping people get their credit card machines set up in their businesses. I've been doing online businesses. I've recently dove into high-risk businesses like cannabis online and any other high-risk business that there is. I can actually process your credit cards. And then I jumped into business lending probably 6 months ago, and I kind of included that under the umbrella of my, Lowy Consulting. So I consult on those two things for now, and the ultimate goal is to actually help a business with everything they need. I want to be the one-stop shop for them to be able to take care of their marketing, take care of their, of course, taking payment, of course, getting a loan if they need it, buying and selling their business. These are ideas that I have to add into the umbrella of Lowy Consulting. But for now, it's payment processing and lending, and I'm happy doing that. So that's kind of the gist of my company and the vision for the future. So that's it.
Beautiful. And what was the point in your life where you decided that you needed to take the leap into what you're doing now or into being an entrepreneur?
Right. So yeah, that question I've actually kind of been preparing for, but it is a loaded question. So let me try to answer it as best as I can. So deciding to take the leap, came from, my background was in Olympic weightlifting and coaching. So I came from strength and conditioning coach. So I coached several rugby teams, A&M rugby team for a couple of years. I actually spent some time in New Zealand coaching some professional rugby guys. Awesome. Got into coaching the Olympic weightlifting scene for a little while. Actually, what actually got me to take the leap, and I'll dive back into the Olympic weightlifting later, hopefully. But what ultimately got me to take the leap was that I was a terrible employee. I didn't take direction very well from somebody that told me to show up at this time and do this. And then I would always have a different idea of how to do it. And I wouldn't want to hire me either. So I think ultimately I had to decide for everybody's sanity that I needed to do my own thing and make it, because I was just not happy working for somebody else. And that was the truth for me. And that's what drove me to get out of it and go door to door for 2 years in the merchant processing world. And I was having more fun doing that than ever showing up to a 9 to 5. And so me driving around to different businesses, being a stranger, walking in there, seeing if I could solicit their business was a better option for me than to show up at a cubicle from 9 to 5. And that's what I decided. So here I am.
And how did your previous experience in weightlifting for yourself and then being a coach help prepare you for that journey of taking the leap?
So I always dive back into that when I have any issues being an entrepreneur. And so in the training, the mentality when you go into training, you always want to, try your best, of course, but realize on the days that you don't have it, actually just show up and do some work, whatever you can. And that gets me through the, there's peaks and valleys that we deal with being an entrepreneur, but that gets you through the valleys. And just understanding that, every day is not going to be your best day, but if you show up, good things will happen. And that was what I learned in the gym. Just showing up. If I don't have the snatch that day, if I don't clean and jerk very well, my elbows hurt, I can still do back squats or just do some deadlifts and strengthen my back, and then do maybe some back extensions or something like that. And that got ingrained in me. So over the years, like 5-6 years of lifting weights hard, got ingrained into my head. And so I can correlate that into my business whenever I don't want to do the work, or I don't, not feeling up to it, not feeling 100%. I'm able to dig in there and say, look, that's okay. Just show up. Just show up and good things will happen. Just like, when you go to the gym, you don't want to go to the gym every day, but showing up and sometimes good things happen, right? Like you show up and you're like, that was the best day I've ever had in the gym, and you surprise yourself. And so just understand that as an entrepreneur, or when you're trying to build strength in the weight room, showing up has been a huge lesson. And, no matter if you feel up to it or not. So that was kind of a huge lesson I learned in the gym, among a lot of other lessons that I tap into every day. So.
Yeah, I like that. Coming from a health and fitness background myself, I think one of the things that I typically see in business and with my clients, and I'm sure you see it with your clients and your network as well, is that whether you're in the gym or in business, it's all about consistency.
Yep.
Right? Like, people will put up one Facebook post and think that that's going to change everything. And I mean, all you do need is one thing to get you going. But if you don't get that one thing right away, just keep being consistent and, like you said, show up. So I really like that.
Yeah, and that plays into the Facebook post for sure. And you're one of the most consistent people I've seen on Facebook posts. I see you over there all the time, but it's good, like good quality stuff. Like you read it and you're like, oh, she actually thought about this and it means something. As opposed to, hey, stay on the grind, or like an inspirational little quote. But like yours are deeper, and I really like reading your stuff. And I think a lot of people relate to what you're talking about.
Awesome, thank you. So you've given us one lesson that you learned as you took the leap. Do you have any other? What would you say has been your biggest lesson as you've launched into the world of credit card processing and more recently into lending?
Like I said, I think it all goes down to how do you deal with the valleys? And what I mean by that is the times that you're not at your best and the times that you're not winning. How do you stay positive and keep going? You got to kind of put it in perspective and realize that it's a journey. It's a long distance race as opposed to a sprint. And, in the weight room, I think I hit a max after the first couple of years, and I stayed at the same max for a whole year. And so to go a whole year, like staying the exact same, like not any improvement at all, that's a crazy thing to deal with.
Yeah.
And that's just the norm for weightlifting. It's like, here's your max and you're going to stay there for about a year, and everybody goes through it. I would just call it the dip in entrepreneurship too. I mean, everybody goes through it of like, man, I just can't break past this, whatever it is, it's mental. And it was a number for me, like it was 100 kilo snatch where I was just there for a whole year. And then finally, I don't know what it was. It was just, maybe 10,000 reps or so. I don't know what they say, but eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to do 102 today. And you just do it. But that mental, so in the weights and in the entrepreneurial journey, when you're trying to push past that ceiling, it's the unknown, right? You don't know how it feels. You don't know what it's going to feel like. But there's something in you that has to say, look, just do it anyway, or try, or just do the movement and see what happens, right? Just keep pushing through and do the movement. And maybe your coach is going to tell you, all right, go do it, go do it now. It's just a trust that, this practice that you've been doing will work, right? And then you've hit kind of a boom in your business. Like it's a little bit taken off. I don't know how big you're going yet, but in business that happens like that as well, that it's like, man, I've been banging my head against the wall, and then you get a call and they're like, hey, I'm going to, let's do business. I just thought about it a little while and I want to go ahead and sign up with you. And this is like, I don't know, out of the blue for like 6 months, you've been waiting on something and then it just happens. But I think it happens because you were in there putting in the reps. And I think it's realizing or knowing or having a coach that tells you, hey, you're doing the right thing, right? You're doing the right thing. Just keep putting in the reps. And then, if they tell you you're doing the right thing, just keep focused on it. You might not see any progression for a whole dang year, but it'll come. I can't tell you when, but, that's the hard part. I can't tell you when, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's honestly such a great lesson. I remember when I was in Australia, I was running a gym down there and I was talking to an Olympic weightlifter who was getting ready for the Commonwealth Games tryouts or something. And here was me I've been lifting weights for a long time and I kind of ebb and flow where I stop lifting for a while and then come back to it. So I was making gains and increasing weight by a significant amount, like a couple kilos every gym session. And here's this big Olympic weightlifter guy next to me who's in there every single day grinding out to make a half a kilo improvement on his squat. And I was just like, I would say to him, like, when was the last time you had a PB? And he was like, well, at this level, you grind out for like a year to improve your squat by half a kilo. And I was like,
that's the truth.
Mentally, you've got to be on your game. And I've never thought of how that relates to business until you said it, but it's true, right? Like, we'll see people every day who talk about, I have all these leads coming in through my funnel or through my marketing, and yet I can't convert them. And it comes to knowing your sales cycle. I'm not sure for you what your sales cycle is like, but as a coach, my sales cycle can be a year to, I've had people who have been following me for like 5 years who finally sign up with me. So it's just knowing that it'll kind of come in waves, and, you might have a month where none of your leads are converting, or, you're getting hit with a whole bunch of haters that month, or, cash flow is a lot tighter that month. And then all of a sudden, because you're in there putting in the reps every day and showing up, like you said before, and just doing the work, that, the tides will change and it'll seem to come when you least expect it.
Yep.
So awesome.
Yeah. That's a huge lesson from the weight room.
Yeah.
But just trusting that it'll happen someday. And of course the coach, right? The coach is there to say, hey, look, don't get down on yourself and keep pushing because you're doing the right thing. And that's always important to have. So I'm a huge proponent of hiring somebody that is in a place that you want to be. And so who that person is, and seek people. And actually, when I look at in business or somebody that I aspire to be like, I just try to do what they do. Like, I'm just like monkey see, monkey do. And I've done that my whole life. Like I was the youngest of 3 boys, and, my brothers played soccer. And so I tried to play soccer like them, and I thought that's how I learned. My dad taught handball. And so I just watched him play handball, and I was like, naturally I started to look like him. But I'm taking that into business, and I'm just doing monkey see, monkey do until it becomes your own.
Yeah.
And, I think that's the space I'm entering, is trying to make it all my own, right? And do it at my own pace. And that's why you're an entrepreneur in the first place, I think, because you want to move at your own pace, because you're not good at having a boss or somebody tell you, hey, come in at 9, leave at 5. I need you to do this at noon. You're not getting a lunch break today. I don't know how to do that. This is impossible. But remembering why you do it, why are you still, plugging away at it? Because number one, maybe you can't have a boss, or number two, you want to work at your own pace and your own time. And that's a big reason why I took the leap is I wanted my time back, and just to ponder things whenever I want, like, hey, I'm tired this morning. I decided I didn't sleep in this morning, but if that ever happens, right, like I can sleep in until 10 and still get my work done if I want, and that was important to me. So my time and when I'm able to sit and deliberate and think about, dream big and think about things, that was a huge factor in why I decided to jump and do the leap, because now I have my time and I can dictate what I do with it, right? Every minute is like mine, and I'm so proud to have that,
Yeah. And for somebody who's in a financial position helping people save money, I mean, time is our most valuable resource. So
absolutely.
So when you can control your time, then you can control that income as well.
Absolutely. And I can make time for the people that I want to make time for.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. So, in your journey, in your entrepreneurial journey, what has been your biggest win so far?
I can think about, I've got over 100 clients, but I don't know. It's hard to say like my biggest win. I always think like you want it so bad until you actually get it. And then you're like, what's the next step? Immediately.
Yeah.
And there's no time to like appreciate it. I definitely, there was a turning point when I signed a country club. He's got about 6 locations all over the country. And I signed it. That was the biggest deal I've ever signed. He's got 6 locations, does millions and millions of revenue per year. That was a turning point for me because it got me to open up my eyes to the bigger possibilities, and I didn't have to play small anymore. I was like, hey, I can do that, and I can talk to these people about the right things and how to integrate into their systems. Once you start dealing with multi-location people, there is, let's say, like, for example, the country club. You got the country club food, you got the country club cart girl, you've got tennis, you've got golf, membership. These are all different parts of their business. And I have to come in there and I have to connect all the dots for the person that's taking care of that. So they need to have a mobile solution out there. They need to have a point of sale solution that they like in the club area. Then you have the membership solution as recurring billing for that. Don't want to bore you to death with that, but that was a turning point for me where I was like, I can have these conversations with these bigger clients that I know I can play ball, and that was huge. I would say that was one of my bigger wins, the multi-location country club, and then that spurred on more and more after that, and just sky's the limit now. So
awesome. And given that was a turning point for you in mindset and in your business, did you celebrate that win?
Yes. I don't remember how.
How.
I probably went out and had a drink or two, and maybe took a day or two off. I usually do. If I get a big win, I take my time to celebrate those, and maybe take a weekend holiday trip, somewhere that I like, and get away. And
awesome.
That's super important. So taking some time off is super important. I'm a proponent of that.
Yeah.
But also, it's funny, celebrating, like now I try to celebrate like for them. I'm like, you know what? I saved that guy $5,000 a month. I'm celebrating for him. I don't need to celebrate for me. That helps me a little bit, but this is, I'm doing it now for these other people. And I'm like, look, I just helped them get $5K more a month in their cash flow. And now they're able to grow with that. Maybe they took a holiday with it, so that's kind of how I'm celebrating now. So it's more like, how did I help them? And that was a huge turning point as well. If you can think like that, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Because I'm enjoying what I do, and then I'm celebrating for them. right?
Yeah, I love it. And we were talking just before we hit record on this interview that you've just saved another business. What was it? 7,000 a month?
9.
9,000 a month. Have you celebrated that one yet?
I'm celebrating for them.
Yeah, awesome.
I haven't got them signed up yet, but I think it's going to be so good for them and their next steps in their business if they want to open up other businesses. You know, I always want to be their cheerleader and their guy that's steering them in the right direction. But yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of savings. I mean, think about that. That's about $100K a year.
Yeah.
So
that's it's more than a lot of people make in a year.
It's not chump change.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. What would you say has been your favorite memory so far on your journey as an entrepreneur?
The people, the mentors, and the friendships that I made.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you like I said before, like the time that I can come hang out with you guys, you and Sid, and I can just sit there and talk about how can we grow bigger, right? Like I can make like my clients are actually my friends now.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's the huge thing with it is I'm just thinking a lot bigger now. I mean, I'm friends with a lot more of my clients, and I'm really it's not just about me anymore. And like I said that before, you know, it's and I forgot the question. Was it about who?
Your favorite memory.
Favorite? I don't have one. I don't think I could name one where my favorite. I just love getting together with other entrepreneurs and talking about you know, what do you think about? I have a new idea. It feels like every day, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have just ideas coming to you. You're like, man, what if I do that, and then you actually know that it's possible, like you can do it. That's kind of a cool feeling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
I can do that. And but I just don't have maybe I don't have the time, but it's like, oh, in the new year I'm gonna do that. So you know, it's fun to think like that.
All right. So I'm gonna put you on the spot with a question that I didn't send you in advance.
Oh.
What's your next goal? What is it that you're seeking to hit now as your next level?
Well, in the new year, I would like to open up another business. I do have a couple ideas. I don't want to share that idea just yet, but
Okay.
I do want to open up another business. My goals, let's see. I want to help at least 10 businesses a month. And so whether that be for merchant processing or lending, I want to do 10 deals a month. And that's just a personal metric that I have. And I do have financial goals behind that. Mm-hmm. But you know, to give you a good round number, the goal is 10 people a month. And you know, any of my friends that I'm like bumping into just remind me of those goals. I always appreciate a good nudge. Just say, are you hitting your goals? And are you did you sign 10 people this month? Like, okay, back to work. So
cool. Well, I'll check in with you next month then.
Yeah, check in next month. Make sure I got 10, and then I can eat.
Yeah. All right. So just before we finish off, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you could give somebody who's sitting on the fence right now? They're thinking about taking the leap, and they just need that final nudge to get them over the hurdle.
That's a really good one. Is it strong? Is that reason strong enough for you to do it? And I think the most important thing before you take that leap is to actually like fully decide. Like fully decide in your head that that's what you're going to do, and then no matter what happens, I think it has to be like a no matter what, I'm going to do this, and there can't be an out, right? Like I think when you start a new thing, like it is important to keep that job that you have, and then build it up like gradually. I really do think that's important, because I jumped into a business when I was 27 and failed miserably. So I moved to a new city, and I tried to start a new boot camp in that city. I didn't know anybody in the town. And basically back then, this was like 7, 8 years ago, I just basically passed out flyers. There was no fun. I didn't know of any funnels, but there was none of that there. And I just basically made these flyers. I said, I'm going to do these flyers. I'm going to hand them to these people, and I'm going to just hit the ground running. And these people are going to be really excited about working out. I failed miserably, and it's hard for me to admit even now that I went balls to the wall, and I came up short. I think I underestimated the time that it would take for me to actually start making money.
Yeah.
So I think give yourself a realistic amount of time for yourself to generate money on that venture. And make sure you're generating enough income with something else. Like if you have something else, make sure you're generating that income. And then if you start actually seeing income coming in, and then it's a good time to take the leap. So don't jump in there with your pants off like I did when I was 27 and decide I get a loan from one of my relatives, and then you're paying them back still. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would have that that mistake or a couple of mistakes that you made, and that kind of shapes you. And I'm a little bit more careful on the I'm a lot more tactical on the decisions that I make now with any new business. It's more like I need to see some good metrics and numbers and make sure everything matches up first before I say, all right, this is a good deal to jump into, because I've already made that mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
What about you? Have you had one of those?
Yeah, I've had a couple of those where I've lost it all. So yeah, the side hustle.
We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah, the side hustle is a good option, right? And then just be prepared to burn your boats at some point.
Absolutely.
So cool. So if people have questions about credit card processing, lending, whether that's to expand their business and take the leap that way or to get a startup loan, where can they find you on social media? Or if they have any other questions, where can they find you on social media?
So I think the first thing you'll see on my Facebook page is text BizFunds to 36260, and that'll give you like all my information on an app on your phone. That's a kind of cool technology that I use as a business card now. So my Facebook, Marshall Lowy, and then Instagram at Marshall Lowy. I need to build that up. I need to get a little better on Instagram, but it's there. And I think that's about, I don't do Twitter, but you can find me on Facebook and find me on Instagram at those two tags. And you can get all my personal information with BizFunds to 36260.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Cool.
I love the weightlifting analogies that you've given us as well this week. So that's
cool.
Awesome.
What number episode is this?
I don't know which one it'll air at. So it'll be in the next couple of weeks though, from when we're
cool.
Or taping.
Well, thanks for having me. And I hope I got the questions answered.
Yeah, you did. And for anybody listening, please head over to iTunes and just leave us a review so that we can help more people who want to take the leap into living the life that they want and they deserve.